What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Retro Hoop Collectibles. This is our weekly hobby news update, PSA numbers update. This week's going to be focused more on the actual numbers themselves from PSA. I'll leave some of the hobby news and other kind of like noteworthy topics for another video. But I really wanted to get into the numbers this week because as I was pulling the numbers on Sunday, I realized that I had just about a year's worth of data. And so I really wanted to kind of spend some time doing just kind of, trending some of that data and really taking a look at some of those main categories that make up the pop report for PSA. As well as we got a little bit of a piece of information that I kind of been speculating on, but now we have something directly from PSA or maybe indirectly from PSA, but at least a roundabout figure that I was able to use and then plug in and then do some math and stuff like that. So before we get into the numbers, I do wanted just a special thank you to Cardhedge. You guys know that's been the sponsor for the channel. They are the first ever to reach out to the channel and want to partner up. So I do appreciate them a lot. I use it all the time, so it's something that I've been using from the beginning when they first started. So I do just want to say thank you to them. And we'll hear it from them really quickly before we jump into the numbers, because I do want this to be completely about the numbers this week. So before we move forward, here's a quick word from Cardhedge. If you're not familiar with Cardhedge, it's an online pricing analysis and collection management tool. You guys see me use it all the time on the channel. I use it to check the value and market trends of different cards that I have. You can check the value of raw cards or graded cards from all the top grading companies. They have all that information pulled there on the site. Online pricing analysis tool is constantly being updated with up-to-date pricing in real time. Cardhedge also has a massive catalog of cards that they have on the platform, and it's growing by the thousands every single day. My favorite thing of all is the comparator that they have, which allows you to compare different prices of the same exact card, but in different grading from different grading companies. So that's really handy whenever you're trying to decide where to send your cards off to get graded. They follow all the prices for all the top sports cards, as well as NFTs and Top Shots, if you're into that. And some more other things that they got currently in development. They're offering a 7-day trial to give you the opportunity to take it for a test drive. Click on the link below if you want to visit the website and get more details. All right, so numbers this week, pretty good numbers. They basically turned in their second highest number ever, beating out last week, which was at that point the second highest number ever. And 214,000. They're right at about 200,000 a week over the last 6 or 7 weeks. If I were to take out those two really bad weeks there and just look at the last 5 weeks, they're about 215, almost 220,000 cards a week, which is it just sounds absolutely insane that they are cranking out that many cards that fast. And it's something that has grown significantly since we started this entire process. So like I said earlier, pulled this number Sunday, which was the 3rd, and I had started this entire thing April 5th last year when I pulled the very first number. So I wanted to kind of take some time to scrolling too fast. Take some time and really kind of just go over the numbers in general, right? So I went ahead and put together like this chart as we're looking at the overall numbers. Let me hit select all here so you guys can kind of see everything. And kind of just take a look at each one individually. So there's a total of 20 categories that I've been pulling over this past year. And of those 20 categories, only 5 of these categories really matter, right? So those of you who are in statistics or in business, the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your dollars comes from 20% of your customers. And that really holds true for PSA. So these 5 categories here, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and TCG are the top 5 categories that make up a little over 8 million, or just at 8 million, 8.1 million that were added to the pop count out of the just a little over 10 million that were added in total throughout the whole year. So if you look at the total 20 categories, 10 million cards were added to the pop report across those 20 categories. And of those 20 categories, 8.1 million of that comes from these 5 categories here, which is exactly 20%, making up about 80% of the entire pop count. So the biggest one was basketball this year. I would imagine prior to the hype and prior to everything jumping off 2018, 2019, I would imagine that baseball would be kind of the big one. However, now it's basketball. For 2021 to 2022, April 2021 to April 2022, 2.8 million almost was basketball. And then the very next one I would have imagined would have been basketball. However, it was not basketball. It was TCG. And one of the things I wanted to look at is if I look at basketball by itself, it's pretty flat. I mean, the demand for basketball last year has been pretty consistent, roughly between 50 to 65, 70 million, but it all just kind of hovered around this little spot here. However, if you take a look at TCG, which kind of towards the end of the year really eked out baseball as being the biggest. I mean, they started off at the beginning of the year roughly about 20,000 cards a week, and then all of a sudden just shot up right around August, September time frame. And now we're hovering around the 80,000, 70,000. I think they had a bit of a dip here to 30 and 40,000. But, I mean, the run-up of TCG cards has been significant. And they take the second spot at just about 20 million cards graded last year. 2 million cards graded last year. And then baseball comes in at 1.9 million. And then football at 1.1. And then soccer at just a little under 300,000 cards. So, again, we're looking at 8.1 million of a total. Let me see, what was this total here? Let me see where I'm at here. No, that's not it. Grand total. No, wait. What am I doing here? There you go. 8.7, 8.8 million. So about 20%. Again, within these 3 categories here. So, I mean, just the majority of their business is here. It's 5 total categories that are here. Everything else stayed pretty flat for the most part. If you look at baseball, again, that was pretty flat. Just kind of not really much of a trend there going up or down. Football saw a little bit of an increase from about 10,000 to about now 30,000, kind of hovering around there. And then soccer cards, I really didn't look at soccer cards much. They did have this one big old spike here, but for the most part, I mean, they've just been hovering around that 5,000 a week mark. So again, these are the big ones. If you look at it in terms of 1 year, that's kind of what they've been doing. Now, for the other piece of information that I wanted to talk about is it was recently said that PSA right now has about 100 graders. Now, ever since PSA started doing about 200,000 cards a week, I made a comment about how that was great. However, it was a bit concerning for me because I just simply didn't know how many graders were pumping out that many cards. And that was kind of a mystery up until not too long ago when I think it was somebody from PSA in an interview or something said that they had about 100 graders. So they had grown their grader pool from, I think it was like 30 something graders or 25 graders or something like that, to now like over 100 or right at about 100 graders that they have now currently working for them. So because I like math and I like running numbers, I kind of just made some assumptions, made two really big assumptions. Number one, that they work 6 days a week. The other one, that they work about 10 hours a day. And it comes out, if I do the math, if I got 100 graders working 6 hours a day, 10 days a week, they're grading 214,000 cards a week on average, that's kind of what it is, right? Comes out to about 2,100 cards a week per grader, 358 cards per day per grader, 36 cards an hour per grader, or just a little under 2 cards a minute. And if anybody wants to challenge me on my math on that, please do, because as I was going through over this in the live stream, I was saying to myself, this can't be right. This has got to be wrong. There's no way that they're grading 2 cards per grader every minute. That means that every card that comes across, a grader takes about 30 seconds to look at it and then make a determination as to whether or not, or to what grade to give that card. And that is very concerning to me, because that does not, I don't believe that is enough time to look at a card. I mean, those of you who send your cards in, I got to imagine that you're looking at a card for way longer than that to determine whether or not you even want to send the card in for grading. And I would imagine, or I would hope, that whatever company you're sending this card into is going to take longer than that to grade your card, like actually be a professional grader. None of us are professionals. We're sending them off to professionals. And I would imagine that even within the idea of muscle memory and somebody who's just simply good at something taking a lot shorter of a time to do it would still exceed at least a couple of minutes. I would imagine that a card would take more than 30 to 45 seconds to look at and give a really good objective grade on it. And we've been seeing a lot of this where people will send in 5 of the same card and they'll get 10s, 9s, 9s, 9, 7, or 10, 7, 7, 7, 5. And it's like, and some of the people that have sent those cards, like, man, I don't really know what the difference is between this card versus this card, but whatever, So there's been like kind of this ambiguity as to whether or not the grades are even accurate to the standards of what PSA has put out there to be the standards for their grading. Obviously, grading is a very opinion-based. It's a very, objectively drawn thing, a conclusion on the grade of a card, which is why companies tend to vary, with the grades. But I would imagine if something gets a 9 with one company, I would imagine it would get an 8 in another company. I would imagine it would get maybe a 9.5 at another company, maybe a 8.5, maybe a 9.5, maybe. You would imagine that spectrum wouldn't vary too much. However, I mean, I myself have cracked PSA 7s that have come back SGC 9s. I've cracked, really it's between CSG and SGC, they kind of tend to be the same. I've only done it once, but that was pretty close. But, two full grades higher, 2.5 full grades higher. I mean, it's happened already. And so that just leads me to believe that the grades at PSA are not very accurate. And once they put out this number that they have 100 graders there, and we know how many cards they're grading or they're adding to the pop report every week, with the assumption that that's roughly how many they're grading, it really scares the crap out of me that based on this math, they're taking 30 to 45 seconds to grade a card. And that does not sit well with me. That does not boast confidence for me in a company that is supposed to be very objective and professional about looking at your card, really examining it and giving it a proper grade, and a proper numerical grade. And because of that grade, it then has value implications, and whether or not you're going to make money off that card if you're in it for the investment side, or whether or not you purchased a really good example of your favorite card. I can't accept that, right? So, the other thing to talk about here is that Genamint, right, is in this as well, right? I think part of some of those interviews that were being given by PSA is that they're now using Genamint. Well, that would make sense, right? Because they're just running it through a machine, and it's that machine is putting together. And as I'm talking about this, I'll run the, or I might just send you guys the link so you guys can look at Genamint and see kind of how that works. But even then, now we're talking about a completely different thing, right? PSA is no longer maybe using graders to grade. They're using the machine to grade. And so, how is that working? Do they use the machine plus maybe a couple of different eyes? I don't know. It's just one of those things where I really don't know what, as you pull back if you were to pull back the curtains at PSA, like how is it that they're actually doing things? So I don't know. What do you guys think? I'll leave it at that. I'll jump off of this. I'll leave it at that. You guys tell me what you think. I've really been wanting to kind of get into some of these PSA raffles and stuff to try to get some cards sent in. My brother has a couple of cards that he, are super valuable that he'd like to send over there. I'd like to send some in just, for giggles and see kind of how some of these cards come back. But what do you guys think? Do you guys really, first of all, you agree with my math? Yes or no? If you do, how does that make you feel about sending cards to PSA? And whether or not you think that you'll get a fair and objective grade. Leave me a comment down below. I really appreciate you guys always watching. I'm taking it a little easy this week because it is my birthday today. It's my birthday week. I have a lot of work to do, so I'm kind of trying to take it easy on the videos. So this may be the only video for the week. I may do another one, but I really do appreciate you guys always watching. I really appreciate you guys, signing up for Cardhedge, which has been huge for me. It's allowing me to buy stuff and give it away on Sundays and things like that. It's been great. So I really do appreciate you guys watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing, and then also visiting the sponsors who sponsor the channel. So Cardhedge is down in the description. Collect 3D Prints is down in the description. I'm also going to be putting together quite a bit of cards to sell. I'm going to thin out some of my collection in preparation for Dallas. Again, I'll be in Dallas in May, a Dallas card show in May. So I'll see you guys up there. If you guys show up, come and say hi. And that's it. I love you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.